Well, hello, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to another all-new episode of PR from the Heart Children's Book Spotlight Series. To be precise, we have reached episode number 169. That is the 169th trolley stop here at PR from the Heart and the Children's Book Spotlight Series. My name is Little John. My name is Little John. This is Little Forrest, and I am John Massalonis, the manager here at PR from the Heart, the host of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Little Forrest's cuteness just wants me to call myself Little John, I guess, so to speak. But we are super excited to spend some quality time with all of you, wherever you are, wherever you may be. We hope that you're having a blessed start to your month of February. And February is such an exciting month for many different reasons, especially because it is Black History Month. Throughout the course of the month of February, we take the time, and we believe here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series, Black History Month should be every month, every day, embracing our fellow brothers and our fellow sisters that are doing some wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and just being of inspiring us to be better humans each and every day in whatever it is that we do. And as we're celebrating Black History Month, we always think about the next generation. We think about the children that are coming into the world right now and how we can do our part to make the world a better place for them. Now, leave it to a series of new children's books and one of our newest neighbors here at PR from the Heart to not only inspire the next generation, but to create a next generation of change makers who are truly revolutionizing the world in ways that maybe we didn't even think were possible. In the process, we encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, to head on over to the official website of our featured guest here this week on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. You can head on over to CrystelPatterson.com. We have included Crystel's official website in the description below, in addition to her social media platforms as well. If Amazon is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, we encourage you to head on over to there to purchase your copies of her Inspired to Be series, which are as follows. We have 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4. We have I Am Different. We have superheroes here and there. And of course, the newest installment in the Inspired to Be series, Too Young to What? The trolley travels from our offices here in San Diego to Sacramento, California, the beautiful city of Sacramento. And joining us, one of our featured authors here at PR from the Heart, as our featured guest here this week, on episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, joining myself and Little Force. We've got so much to talk about. Crystel Patterson is joining us on the program. Crystel, we really appreciate your free time, and thanks for spending some quality time with Little Forrest and I here this week.
Hi, John and Little Forrest. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. And again, there's so much to get into. So of course, before we proceed, we encourage just a little bit of housekeeping here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series. If these messages that we are already beginning to share, if you feel that they're inspiring you, if they're lifting your spirits, if they're helping you through a difficult or challenging time in your life, if anything you say, you know what, John, Crystel, I know of many children, even just one children who could benefit from hearing that it is possible to do whatever it is that they want to do in life, that they have it within them to become a change maker right now, no matter wherever they're at on their path. If you have someone in your life who is wanting to learn a little bit more about Black history and the wonderful resources that are available for Black children and for children of all colors and races, ages, etc., we encourage you to subscribe to PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel and to share this very special trolley stop that you are now enjoying. That is episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. I love your work, Crystel. You've accomplished so much in the world of children's literature in a relatively short period of time, which is exciting. And no doubt there's much more to come in the process. We always like to start each Children's Book Spotlight Series by kind of taking the Wayback Machines, so to speak, and doing a little back to the future. At some point in time in your life, you knew that you were meant to be of service to children. You knew that you had a dream, a desire, a vision, a mindset that you wanted to make the lives of our little ones that much better in the process, especially for Black children as well, too. Could you share with our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, when you really knew that this all began for you and how everything in terms of the Inspired to Be series came to be?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. I've always had a certain soft spot in my heart for children. But I never thought that my way of inspiring them or just doing something that would benefit them would be through me writing stories. That was something that came as an adult just a few years ago. And it actually came through circumstances around us that was happening. A few years ago, the country and the world was in this unique place that we had never been before. This global pandemic was taking place, right? And on top of that was also a social justice crisis that was taking place, right? And what happened during that time really sparked my interest in trying to change the narrative, if I may, right, around Black people. George Floyd was murdered, and he wasn't the first Black man to be murdered by the police, right? But there was something different about how that happened and the response that everyone had. And it was a response from my son specifically that made me realize that I needed to act. I needed to do something. My 8-year-old son at the time, he's now 10, he asked me, why do police keep killing Black people? This is a question coming from an 8-year-old child. And I'm his mother, and I'm supposed to answer that question, right? And I don't know how to stop that from happening. I don't, right? But what I do know is that I don't want my child or any other child that looks like him or any other child that doesn't look like him to be focused on all the negative things that's happening to Black people when there's so many other positive things that's happening, right? And so observing my younger child, who was 3 at the time, observing him and his relationship with books made me realize that, books is a great way to show children something else, to teach them the positivity that's out there, the examples of Black people who are thriving and not necessarily being victims. Now, that's not to say it's going to solve the problem of police brutality against Black people. That is still a problem. But I just wanted to counterbalance that narrative with something more positive. And so I decided to write my book series called Inspired to Be that would be intended to just spread Black inspiration to all children, because I felt like while my sons need to see these stories and children who look like them need to see these stories, I felt like it was equally important for children who are of other races to also see these positive stories of Black people, so that they can also realize that just because the negative stories are the ones that's persistent in the media, there's so many other good stories, so many other examples, so many other role models that you can look up to and aspire to be. And so with that, I said every book is going to be inspired by a real person, because that's how I get inspired, right? When I see somebody doing something, I'm like, oh, if they can do that, I can do that too. So I decided that every book would be inspired by a real person. And that's how I spread Black inspiration to all children.
I commend you on so many levels. I remember during the pandemic and when there was the heightening of the police brutality and what came from George Floyd, I asked myself the same question. I said, what is it that I could do? And realizing that we all have platforms in our own way, and running my own PR and publicity company, I said, it's up to me to be able to do my part to spotlight and share the inspiring stories of African men and women that are doing their part to not only make the lives of their children better, but as you said, transforming the narrative. Because, many of us, when I refer to us in terms of society, there were all of these old mindsets and beliefs, whether it be about, don't talk to this person because they have a certain skin color, or don't talk to this person because they worship differently. We've seen everything from George Floyd. We've seen over the course of these past several months, anti-Semitism throughout the country. And I think it's really important, as you said, with regards to children's books, and this leads me into my next question. There's something about children's books. There's, us as parents and caregivers and custodians of little ones, we can rack our brains saying, okay, my little one, as you said, your little one came to you and asked a very poignant question that you could even say, I don't know if I'm really equipped to answer this kind of thing.
Right.
And this is where children's books come in, because they speak a universal language. You could line up 10 different children reading the exact same book, but they will all take away something very transformative, powerful, life-changing, and really, if anything, because little ones' minds and hearts are still developing, to be able to help them stay on the right track and not fall into the cracks of some of the things
Right.
we actually did. What do you feel is so pivotal and transformative about children's books that really help messages such as yours, these messages that really need to be shared, not only with children, but also us as adults? What is it about children's books that just really helps these messages to hit home that much deeper in our hearts?
Yeah, I think you already hit on it by asking and how you asked the question. It's very universal, right? And not only is it universal, it's very simple. Like when I'm writing, I have to remind myself, like, am I explaining this in the simplest way that I can explain it, right? Am I putting this in words in the simplest way that I can put it? Because I want children to be able to understand it and not be confused by it. Also, something else that I do is I know from my own learning experience and from the learning, how observing my kids and how they learn, I know that if you write a certain way, it's more likely to stick, right? So like if something is rhyming and it's repetitive, right? I remember all these little stories from when I was a child. The ones that I remember are the ones that rhymed and were repetitive, right? And so those messages kind of stuck with me because of the way it was written. So I think children's books has that ability to just like break things down in the simplest, but also you can have fun with it and rhyme and repeat, but you know that there's a purpose in that because they're going to remember it. People ask me all the time if I write books for older children. And I say, I actually haven't thought about it, honestly, because my goal is to like really transform narratives, like you said. And I actually feel like the greatest opportunity to do that is when they are so young and just now understanding the world and trying to figure out how things work and how things are supposed to be. And they haven't formed so many opinions yet that can't be changed, right? And so that's why I focus on the age group that I focus on. So that's another beauty of children's book, right? You have the power to actually influence, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing, but in my case, I think it's a good thing.
Well, and I'm glad that you touched upon that, because you too are utilizing your platform for the highest and greatest good. And again, it's especially one of the things, if anything, to come out of the pandemic is, the world has seen so much over the past several years. So again, we went from just so many different things during the pandemic. Now we're on the other side, and it's a matter of, it's very easy to slip back into those old patterns, those old ways of being. And it's a matter of, what can we do so we don't repeat? It's either transform and evolve or repeat. And it's up to us as parents and caregivers and custodians to really lead the way, because our children are really looking at us in the process and saying, hey, like, what's the next step? And by us doing our part, we can inspire them to be able to do their part. Whenever one moves forth in their life's purpose, you can come across some obstacles, challenges, difficulties, obstacles, problems, stressors, troubles, worries, you name it. When you knew that these books had to be written, starting off with 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4, all the way to now with Too Young to What, were there any specific challenges that you experienced along the way? Anything that comes to mind? And then what were some of the things that helped you to get through to the other side? Because obviously you are on the other side, because all 4 of these great children's books are now available for everyone to enjoy.
Challenges is like an interesting word, because I'm the type of person, when I make up my mind I'm going to do something, like I do it, right? So it was a learning process, right? Just trying to understand, okay, I want to do this, I need to do it now, how do I do it, right? then I was exploring, self-publishing between over traditional publishing, right? And trying to figure out the best path. And, that was the first challenge, because ideally, if you want your message to reach the masses very quickly, maybe a traditional publishing route would be better, right? But then I learned that, I would have to sit on this for a while, because there's no guarantee that anyone's going to want to pick up my work right away, right? So that was a challenge, but I didn't let that stop me. I said, okay, well, I guess I'm going to self-publish. I'm going to figure out how to do that. And there's just been some challenges within that process, just trying to understand the most efficient way to do it. And with each book, I feel like I learn more and more and more. Once you publish, though, I feel like up to the publishing point, it's like smooth sailing, because like I had an idea, I knew exactly what I wanted to write about. So that wasn't the hard part. But once I published, it was like, okay, now my book is published. How do I make people know about it? I don't have like this great, tremendous platform that some of these celebrities may have. When they release a book, they get everyone's attention and everyone rushes out to get it, right? I don't have that. So how do I make it so that people actually know about this and know that this is an important message that all children need to learn, right? And so I've just been boots on the ground, right? Like I'm like boots on the ground, reaching out to schools, reaching out to libraries, reaching out to bookstores, in the community, at pop-up events. Like I go everywhere, places that you don't normally see an author, but I'm not afraid to step into those spaces and just like show people what I have, and people always find so much value in it. So I'm going to keep doing that. And, even getting you as a partner here to help me spread the word, right? As a PR firm, that was something that I had to pray on, right? Like, am I ready to make this type of investment in myself, right? So there's a lot of challenges, but I think the visibility and just getting the message out there has been the most challenging, but I'm working on it.
I appreciate you sharing what you're sharing, because just in the time that we've been working together, you said like boots on the ground, and you're very driven. I feel that any entrepreneur in any walk of life, especially if you're doing something so inspiring as giving back to children and connecting with parents and families and educators, it takes someone who's very driven and who believes in themselves, because of course, again, you're inspiring children to believe in themselves. And it's a matter of, in our own ways, we really have to, alignment is key. And we have to be able to ensure that we're, if we're saying one thing, that we're saying and doing the exact same thing, so that everything is staying in full congruence. Again, we appreciate all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, young and old alike. And if you are new to our neighborhood, or you've been with us for a long period of time, you are enjoying episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. Our featured guest here this week on the program, children's author and the creator of the Inspired to Be series, Crystel Patterson, is joining us, and we are almost ready to dive into the pages of all four for brand new children's books in the Inspired to Be series. We encourage you, if you haven't had the opportunities to do so, to head on over to her official website, CrystelPatterson.com. If Amazon is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can head on over there. One of the many things that you can do to pledge your support for Crystel is to not only purchase your copies of the Inspired to Be series, but to leave 5-star reviews. Again, that's a wonderful way that you can pledge your support for Crystel, to let her know that she is doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, those who love great children's books, as well as for all educators across the country, teachers, principals, librarians. If you are interested in facilitating an author school visit with Crystel, you can connect with her via her official website. If you're booking out for the spring, or if you're already booking out for the 2023-2024 school year in the process. This journey that you're on, it's something that you're also balancing two different careers. And I think this is something that I wanted to touch on as well. So being a technology consultant, I can only imagine there's a lot of coding and a lot of office-y kinds of things. And then it's like you have your work as a children's author. So there's many people who are wearing different hats as parents, as entrepreneurs. And it's like, how do we get the 8th day in the week? How do we get the 370 days in a year versus 365? How can I get 12 hours worth of sleep when I'm only getting 7 right now? Could you speak to the fact of what helps to keep you balanced and grounded and focused in the process so that you're not losing sight of just your day-to-day responsibilities, as well as your short-term and long-term vision in your work for children?
Yeah, that's it's a good question because it's a struggle every day for me. I was just telling a friend that like I'm finding it very hard to balance the two. But I think what keeps me going is once a necessity. I always tell people that like one of them, there's that like a fill up and a draining aspect in both of them. One of them fills me up, right? When it comes to like feeling like I'm doing meaningful work and just like, you know, like giving back, it really fills my whole barrel up, right? And then one of them kind of drains me, my technology consulting. And I don't mean drain me in a negative way. It's just, it's very exhausting, right? It's very hard work. You're always in meetings. You're always trying to get the next deal, right? Like it's just, it's draining mentally. It's exhausting. But the one that actually drains me is the one that fills up the bank account so that the author job can drain it, right? So I can write these books and put them out there. So one that like they're both necessities actually, like, you know, and depending on how you look at it, I need them both at this point in my life, right? I'm a new author starting out, so it's a lot of investments that have to go into it, right? And so I actually need my other job to support that. I do meaningful work in my day job, but I have found since I've started writing these books, what I was actually meant to do. And so that's why I'm at the point where it's like, at some point I'm going to have to make a decision and let go of my technology consultant job and really put everything I have into being an author, because I've found that not just being an author, but the types of books and stories that I'm telling, that's actually what I was meant to do. Like, that's what I've discovered. So
it's the books that you write. I mean, there's a lot of focus and attention and care that's given. You're not the kind of person that does something just slightly. You give your all. You are all in. And I think that's something to speak about as well, too, especially, again, whether you're doing something for children, whether you're giving back to the homeless, maybe you are a cancer advocate, whatever it is that you do in life,
right.
It's important that you show up every day and you are all in. And I think that one of the older mindsets, it's kind of like when you're at an Olympic size swimming pool and you go to the high dive, or you go to the deep end, it's like, I don't know if I'm ready. And you can just try to buy into all of those old stories and old beliefs. Could you speak to the perspective of being all in whatever it is that you do, especially, you know, when it comes to someone who is a parent who's also an entrepreneur, is trying to balance a few different things? Could you speak to the importance of why it's important to be all in and to not kind of try to be on both sides of the fence?
Yeah, I don't know if I have the best answer for that, because I don't feel like I'm all in because I'm juggling so much right now. But I will say that I don't let the dreams of like what I want to accomplish with my books, I don't let that fall idle at all. Even though I know I have to balance against, you know, being a parent, being in this like highly professional career that I'm in, right? Like, even though I have all these things to juggle, I'm also a wife. Husbands have, you know, demands, you know, things that I have to care about around the house and all that. So even though I have all those things, I don't let the thing that I feel like I was really, really meant to do fall by the wayside. And so I do feel like in a sense, I'm very close to being all in with the author stuff. And it's very important to do that, because I think that's when you get to unleash your full potential in something that you want to do, right? You're all in. I feel like when I don't have to worry about working 8 to 10 to 12 sometime hours a day at my technology consulting job, imagine how I can channel that and use that time to put it into this meaningful work over here that I really want to do, right? And I've been finding a way to balance and have a more fluid schedule. Like some days I'm at work and then, oh guys, I have to go to an author visit. I'll be back. And so I'll go to the school, visit, and come back. Okay, I'm back. I'm ready to work. So I'm trying to find a way to blend the two right now. But I think eventually I'm going to have to transition completely, because I really feel like the potential is there for me to put so much more into the books. And I see like the unlimited return, I guess, that I'm going to get just by more children having access to the books, more children having some type of inspiration that they're getting from the books. Like I just want to reach the masses, and I feel like I could better do that if I'm putting more time into the books. Sorry for the long answer, but yes.
Oh no, that was perfectly shared, and I feel that you are all in because you're doing it. You know, your work has been shared far and wide, and it's reaching even farther and wider, further and wider. I'm not sure what's the correct verbiage there, so to speak, but I think that you shared that beautifully. All four of your books, and this is, you know, one of the cool things about the children's book spotlight series, when we have the opportunities to interview authors that have written multiple books. It's an accomplishment to write one. You've written four in a relatively short period of time. And again, for many of our listeners and viewers, friends and neighbors, and of course our fellow shining stars, you can't forget them. It's important that we communicate about all of your books, because one of the cool things about having multiple children's books is that if you know one of them is not someone's cup of tea, there's always another choosing, so to speak. It's kind of like, you know, going to a buffet. Let's envision a healthier buffet, not ones that have all these horrible different kinds of foods that have these not healthy ingredients, but it's like you can choose different sorts of things, right? So I love 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4. I remember growing up, I wasn't necessarily a big fan of gymnastics, but I always, like my sister and my mom, the 92, the 96 Olympics, we remember, you know, Carrie Strug and Bella Carolina. You can do it, Carrie, you can do it. So here I am, I think it was like 14, 15. I just found that super inspiring. So anytime, of course, every 4 years, we get the Summer Olympics. And, you know, gymnastics, both for men and women, is always one of the top Olympic sports, and it gets a lot of coverage, so to speak. So could you take the time to help us dive into the pages of 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4, and introduce us to Ruby? She's this precious child who really has big dreams in the process, but she's needing to be reminded about her that this goal of hers is something that can be achieved and can be possible.
Yeah. So like I said, right, inspiration first and foremost. I just find ways to effectively tell a story that would draw a child in, but the message is like the most important thing, right? So I use gymnastics because when you think of gymnastics, gymnasts, you think of people who are very committed, people who have amazing work ethic, right? And you get to see them at the Olympics, right? Like a lot of people, like that's when they actually tune in and watch gymnastics at its best, right? And when you think of someone aspiring to go to the Olympics, you think of like dreaming big, right? Like if you're an athlete and you're trying to go to the Olympics, you're dreaming as big as you can dream as an athlete, right? So I decided to tell the story about dreaming big and showing unlimited potential and possibilities through this little child named Ruby, who first discovers her love of just flipping, right? It just starts off with her flipping, right? Ruby is bored one day at home and she is just flipping like most children do, breaking stuff around the house probably, but you know, flipping from the couch to the floor and just, right? And it took someone to notice. Her sister notices, wow, she really likes flipping, right? And Ruby discovers like, okay, I really like flipping. So then she goes to the park with her mom and she can't stop flipping. She's still flipping. And her mom is like, but let's figure out how to channel that energy in a positive way. She likes flipping. Maybe I'll put her in gymnastics lessons, right? So there's the mom taking notice, like, okay, she's doing something. Let's figure out how we can make it a productive thing, right? So she puts her in gymnastics. Ruby gets into gymnastic lessons and she's ready to learn so much, right? And so she's flipping, she's learning all the different types of flips that she could do. And so she starts to dream big because she's realizing, oh, this is really fun. I could do a lot here. But not only is she realizing like, okay, I can do a lot. Let me practice. Let me stay committed. Let me put in what I need to put in to learn. Her coaches are also taking notice and they're like, she's really good. They're noticing that she's really good. She may just be a champion. So there's like a community around her that's kind of helping to reinforce her passion, right? She's feeling passionate about it. She's knowing she needs to practice, and the people around her are doing things to reinforce her, right? So you get to see her grow up, right? And she's the next phase is her she moves somewhere and she's practicing with the best, right? She's now training to go to the Olympics, right? And then she goes to the Olympics. She's dreaming about winning gold and she wins gold. And so you get to see this progressive story of this child that grows up and she's continuously, once she finds something that she loves doing, she continues to apply herself to that thing. You see her community around her supporting her, and you see her dreams just getting bigger and bigger and bigger as she goes. And eventually she becomes an Olympic gold medalist. And so it's actually inspired by a true story. And that's the inspiration right there. The story itself is fun. The children love it, right? They get to say, every time I read it, they say 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4. They all say it with me and they get really excited. And they love Ruby and they love seeing her grow up. But the kicker is when I tell them that that story is actually inspired by a real person, Gabby Douglas, or it could be any gymnast for that matter. Simone Biles is the popular one right now, right? But when they can make that connection to real life, they start to feel like, oh my gosh, I can do that too, right? And it doesn't have to be gymnastics. It could be anything, right? You find something that you love and you work hard, you practice, you train, you study, you do what you have to do, and you keep setting goals, and then you dream big. Don't dream small, dream big. So that's that book.
And the message of 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4, it's really an affirmation. It's an affirmative statement. So it's a matter of, like, again, you know, children's minds and hearts are still developing. And even us as adults, one of the older beliefs is that, oh, you're a certain age, you can't, you know, change your thoughts and change your life and, you know, transform things. It's that affirmative 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4. So you're ingraining it positively into your mind as well. And, you know, Ruby is very committed. That's one of the things you mentioned about being a gymnast, is that you're very, sometimes when I first heard about gymnast schedules, it's like, my gosh, like, how do they do this? Like, they wake up at 5 in the morning and they're doing like 10 hours of training, or maybe sometimes even more. But there's always that payoff. It can be, you know, winning the state championship. It can be getting to the Olympics. It can be, you know, of course, being on that gold medal platform and, you know, hearing your country's name or hearing your country's anthem. Of course, for us here being in the United States, and just hearing that. And then, you know, that those sorts of things are confident. And that's why, again, the message of dreaming big and pursuing something that you love, it's not going to come to you. You have to take the time and take the necessary next steps in the process as well. One specific question that I did want to ask about this book before we dive into the pages of I Am Different is, whenever little ones are dreaming big and they inspire to be great things, it's important that those children have a support system. Mm-hmm. Whether it be mom and dad, whether it be grandma, grandpa, whatever their close-knit family looks like, and even beyond the scope of that, it's important that, you obviously know that I'm a big Mr. Rogers fan here at PR from the Heart in the Children's Book Spotlight series, and he always used the term, you know, trusted neighbors, trusted adults. It's important that children have those role models and influences in their life, because they can't necessarily do it without us. They can get to a point where eventually they can, but we need to be able to be there, especially right at the beginning. Talk to us, if you could, speak to the point about the importance of having a support system for kids, specifically when we're talking about dreaming big and helping children to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve with their dream.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that, John, because that is actually something I make sure to show in some shape or form in all of my books, that support system, because it's so important for children to know that that's part of the equation, right? Like, a lot of times children want to do something, and if an adult, they're looking for an adult to help them, and that adult is just shutting them down, that messes with their confidence and that makes them feel like they can't do it, right? And so it's so important to build confident young children who actually feel like they can do anything that they set their minds to, or that they are beautiful or whatever it is. It's that positive reinforcement goes a long way. And so that's why I made it a point in this book to show it started with her sister, then her mom, then her coaches. You see, it's a community of people around her reinforcing that what she's doing is a good thing. And not only that, but there's potential to do so much more, right? And they're supporting her and they're helping her. So I just find that like as like an essential part of the equation for children, because they are lacking resources sometimes, right? They need the adult to get, like, she can't just go sign herself up for gymnastics lessons. Someone has to do that for her, right? And so it's important that we have that support for the children so that as they're growing up, they know and they feel supported, and that will build confidence in them, and that won't make them afraid of trying things that they might think that, you know, that they want to do. It might not, I'm struggling to say this in the right way, but it won't deter them from going after what they want to go after.
And that's why those are some of the very key reasons why a support system is needed, especially early on. Shifting over to I Am Different. Now there's 3 characters in the story. I believe it's pronounced Econ, Econ and Nia and Malachi. And they're on their own journey themselves as well, too. This book is even more interactive, and it creates a much needed discussion, kind of like discussions within the discussion, so to speak. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Could you take us inside the pages of I Am Different and the journey that Econ, Nia, and Malachi are all on together?
Yes. So this story is a true self-affirmation book about just loving and embracing the things that make you different. And there's 3 characters who all are struggling with being different, and each of them has their own thing. And they're struggling because on one hand, they are getting teased about certain characteristics, right? So for Malachi, it's his skin complexion. For Nia, it's her hair. And then for Econ, it's her name. And they're all struggling because on one hand, they're getting teased or they're getting nitpicked at for those characteristics. And then on the other hand, they have people around them who are uplifting them and positively reinforcing those things about them, right? Making them feel like those things are so beautiful. That's so special about you, right? And so they are getting these mixed reactions, and they are struggling with who they should believe. And in the end, what they come to is that they should believe the people who uplift them, right? But not only that, they should believe what they tell themselves. So I introduced the concept of positive affirmations, right? You tell yourself over and over these statements of how you want to be, what you love about yourself, and that those are the things that you tell yourself, and those are the things that you believe, not necessarily what somebody else tells you, right? If it's a positive thing, yeah, you embrace that. You say thank you. It makes you feel good, right? When people compliment us, that makes us feel really good. But there's always going to be people out here in this world that want to bring you down, and they're going to say negative things to you. And I don't think that it's a child is ever too young to learn that, because it will come, right? And so when those people who want to be more negative and bring you down, when they tell you negative things, what are you supposed to do with that? You don't have to listen to that. You can take that and throw it right in the trash, right? You don't have to listen to that. And so I just want kids to really love being different and understand that the things that make them different is what makes them them. And if we were all the same, it would be really boring. And so I love reading that book when I go visit classrooms and stuff, because it really resonates with them. And the discussion guide in there, like I literally have that conversation with them as I'm reading the book, and it sticks for them. It really does. So it's actually one of my favorite in the series, because I just think it's such an important message and conversation that needs to be had. And that's why I chose to have those discussion points, because this is a perfect opportunity to have those conversations, because so many children struggle with feeling different because somebody is pointing it out, right?
This book especially is not only very powerful for children, but also for adults that are on their own healing journey. And I'm just going to mention one of the discussion questions. On page 5, it says, has anyone ever said awful things about you? How did it make you feel? I know that just over the course of the past several days, I was kind of moving through a little bit of a challenging time. And I went to these questions and they provided excellent journal prompts, because there is, we're always healing in some way, shape, or form. We could just be moving about our day and we might remember something that someone said to us when we were in 4th grade, and we're like, where did this come from? And that hurt. And maybe you kind of suppress that down at that particular point in time. So, and especially I'm seeing a lot more parents that are doing their part to reconnect with their inner child, so they can do their part to be better parents for their little ones in the process, so they can connect with them on an even more deeper, meaningful, and heartfelt level. So I encourage adults, even if you don't necessarily have little ones, this particular book in the Inspired to Be series can very much help to open your heart and bring in a lot of healing, which is very much necessary for us as adults, especially if we have big things that we're accomplishing and that we're wanting to move forth on in the process. Of course, then we transition into superheroes here and there. I remember, in fact, I think this was actually one of the main reasons why Fred Rogers actually returned back with regular episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I'm not sure if you actually were aware of this, but when the Superman movie came out with Christopher Reeve, children were actually like trying to pretend to be superheroes and trying to leap off of buildings and windows and things of that nature. And Mr. Rogers just thought that was asinine. He thought it was ridiculous. So he did a whole week dedicated to superheroes. Now, most recently, over the course of through the pandemic, we saw the importance of frontline workers. We heard that term, frontline workers. And those are people who work in the hospitals, whether it be doctors, nurses, hospital clerks, x-ray technicians, just anyone who works in a medical setting. We obviously were familiar with those who worked in grocery stores, the people that, that bring the food from the farms and all other areas into the grocery stores so that we can purchase them. I still feel that teachers, we've also seen the importance of teachers and how for years and eons that they were overworked and underpaid. I really love this message that you're communicating with children, that superheroes can be found anywhere. It's very easy to turn on a Lakers game and you see LeBron James. It's very easy to turn on a football game and you see Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. But you're a Raiders fan as well, too. So we'll say, is it Devontae Adams is the star receiver of the Raiders? So it's very easy for kids to think they're superheroes because they see them on television. They're doing these amazing things. But if you could talk to us a little bit further about superheroes here and there, and speak to us a little bit more about that theme and some of the other themes and messages that are found within your book.
Yeah. So this really is about normalizing what a superhero is. Because a lot of times when we think of it so grand, right? Someone who is doing these amazing, incredible, unhuman-like things, right? But how about we take it down a level and we redefine what a superhero is? And maybe it's just someone who has the ability to do something good for someone, right? It's the what you're doing and how it's making someone else feel, right? Because you might do something for someone and who knows, maybe they were having a horrible day, but because of how you talked to them or what you did for them, that probably changed their whole path, right? After your interaction with them. So it's just about normalizing these people who are showing up every day, doing good, right? Whether it's in their profession or just from like their person, right? Just how you interact with others, whether you're being kind, whether you're being courageous, whether you're just being that person that just always shows up for someone, right? Or maybe you're a firefighter, and regardless of whether or not you're putting out a fire or you're helping a child get her cat out of the tree, right? Like you're helping someone, right? And so it's just about normalizing superheroes and showing children that it's important to appreciate these superheroes around us, but not only that, you can be a superhero too, because superheroes don't always wear capes, and you actually can be a superhero too. You can show up like this for someone and make their day. And so there's several examples. What I did, I tried to get really creative with this book, and it's like a juxtaposition. So he's like super obsessed with superheroes, this little boy, James, and he really is like struggling with if superheroes are made up or if they're real. Like, are they make believe or are they for real? And so he's on this quest to find out. So he bombards his parents with a bunch of questions about, have you seen a superhero ever? Can they do this? Can they do that? And it's a juxtaposition with how he's asking the question, because he's asking it like what you would see on Marvel, right? Mm-hmm. And the way his parents are answering it is how you would see it in real life, how a superhero would show up in real life. So you get to see this juxtaposition. And in the end, he's like, oh, wow, like, man, superheroes do exist and they're real and they're all around me, right? And it's an amazing kind of full circle story where he gets to realize like what I've been seeking, I've had it here all along, right? So, yeah.
I love this book for many reasons, primarily from the aspect of a lot of children are very curious. They're very inquisitive. They ask a billion questions. And sometimes we really want to do our part to answer the billion questions, but we can get to a point where it's like, have I answered all your questions? Right. So this is, it's also, I feel this book is a great lifeline for parents who might feel a little bit, well, okay, my little one's asking all these questions. There's ways to be able to communicate the answers to those questions in a way where they'll actually get it and understand it and whatnot. And James is on this wonderful journey. Like, this is with all the characters in your books, they're on these own fascinating journeys of self-discovery as well too. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about before we head into your newest installment in the Inspired to Be series. When we're talking about doing our part to be able to help children to connect with their curiosity and their wonder. Us as adults, we can be very jaded. We can be very cynical. We can just, kind of see the world through one lens. We might even be very negative. We might be the doubting Donna, so to speak, and whatnot. We always like to be able to provide some useful information for parents, caregivers, grandparents, educators, that they can immediately extract from a children's book Spotlight series episode and share it with the little one in their life. When it comes to specific ways in which that we can do our part to help children stay connected to their wonder, to their curiosity, and to that ultimate vision of that they can be anything in life, they can do anything that they want in life. What are some specific strategies or methods, different ways that you feel that parents and caregivers and grandparents and educators can support children with that?
Yeah. So we touched on it earlier about just being that support, right? Children may want to do something and feel like they can't, right? Because they don't have permission or they don't have someone encouraging them to do it. So that's kind of like the first thing. It's just being that support for the child. A lot of times, like in the 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4, what you would normally see when a child is like jumping and flipping all around the house is the parent saying, stop doing that, right? Stop jumping on the couch. But like what her mom did instead was say, okay, you like to do that? Let's figure out how to channel that in a positive way. Let's put you in gymnastics lessons, right? So I think that is one way for sure. It's just being that support and being a resource, right, to the child. I'm struggling to think of other ways, strategies to help reinforce, but that's what comes to mind initially.
I also feel, and this is part of the thread of the support system, but it's presence. One of the things that Little Force, Presenc, one of the things that I've been learning as being a dog dad, a recent dog dad, is that when puppies bark, they're wanting our presence. Mm-hmm. And they know when you're not giving them your full presence, and they can feel more encouraged, more soothed in the process. And I think that, at the end of the day, it really all goes back to children. When they grow up, they will remember the time that was spent by mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, even more so than the super cool bells and whistles and toys that they got during Christmas or their birthdays, things along the lines of that. Your newest book, Too Young to What, may be your best work yet. A lot of times in life, again, one of those older paradigms and beliefs, we could easily believe, well, you have to be of a certain age in order to accomplish something. Someone who I resonate with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her work, Louise Hay. She cured herself of cancer. She was the founder of Hay House Publishing, which was one of the largest spiritual, inspirational, and consciousness publishing companies in the entire world. Many people know her work because she was friends and colleagues with the legendary Dr. Wayne Dyer. She founded Hay House, I believe, in either her late 60s or early 70s, if I'm not mistaken. So you're obviously letting little ones know that you don't need to wait until you're 60 or 70 to accomplish that. You can start it off. And just, if I may share just page 1, because we don't like giving away the whole kit and caboodle of the children's books that we share here in the Children's Book Spotlight series. But this is how it starts, very powerfully. Oh, hi, I'm Dante, and I'm feeling stressed. I have something to get off my chest. There's this awesome thing that I like to do. It brings me joy and excitement too. I practice each day so I can be great, yet people say that I need to wait. And I can just imagine there's children across the country and around the world that are like little Dante. And they're like, man, you know, I want to do this, but ... This person says this, and this person tells me this. And again, going back to what I mentioned, children's minds and hearts are very impressionable. Could you share with us a little bit more about Too Young to What, and the importance of patience, and how patience and how practice, and it might sound cliche, but how never giving up on yourself and believing yourself actually does pay off over time?
Yes, yes, yes. So this is I think this book right here, like you said, it might be the best yet. This one is actually nonfiction in the series. Like, I'm making up my own rules here. Like, the first 3 are fictional and this one is nonfiction. Because I just found, like, well, we want to inspire, and I always say the best way to inspire is by using real examples. So I'm like, look at all these examples of these young children who have done extraordinary things, right? Despite their age, why not just put them in the pages of the books so the children who are reading these books can learn about them? And that is like ultimate inspiration right there in the pages of the books. So yeah, Too Young to What really seeks to show children that no matter their age, they can do anything that they set their mind to. But of course, you can't just want to do something, right? You got to practice in some cases, right? You got to study hard. You got to do your research. There's different things that you have to do, steps that you need to take. You may need the help of an adult to do it, right? But patience is super important because you can't have it right away. Right? You can't have it right away. You got to decide what you want to do and come up with a plan of how to do it, and do the things that are necessary so that you can get there. When I talk about dreaming big to children, I do this activity where they tell me what their dream is. And I try my hardest not to say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because I don't believe that you have to wait until you grow up to follow your dreams. And, you know, in the school setting, that's kind of a different approach, because they do focus on what you want to do when you grow up. And not everyone needs to go to college, right, to do what they want to do when they, the dream that they have, to follow that dream. And so, yeah, like it's all around patience. I do really promote practicing your craft, studying, training, whatever it is that you need to achieve your dream. You need to do that, but you also need to say what it is so that people around you who have the access or the resources can also help you. I think a lot of the children in the pages of the books, they had people who helped them. They didn't do it by themselves, right? They had the dream, they had the vision, and someone helped them put it in place.
And on the back cover of the book, you mention in beautiful colors and font, by the way, 10 children who didn't let their age stop them from doing extraordinary things. I wanted to share one of my favorite passages as well, too. Again, not giving away the whole kit and caboodle, because there's many other stories of inspiring children that you will learn about, such as Jaquil Jackson, at the age of 8, he just couldn't wait to serve others. Now, isn't that great? He helped his auntie and gave to the poor, then found a way to keep doing more. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Jaquil Jackson, when he was just 5 years old, he helped his aunt distribute food to individuals dealing with homelessness. And from then on, he knew that he wanted to do more to make a difference. At the age of 8, he founded Project I Am, which provides blessing bags to the homeless in Chicago. So if Jaquil can do it, then little Dante can do it. Crystel's doing it. I'm doing it. And little Forrest is doing it. We're all doing it in the process. We are beginning to wind down our time with our featured guest here on episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, Crystel Patterson. We have been enjoying all of her books in her collection. That is the Inspired to Be series. We encourage you to do the very same if you feel guided to do so. You can head on over to Crystel's official website, CrystelPatterson.com. You can stay connected with Crystel post Children's Book Spotlight series as well. Keep the conversation going and flowing, as we like to say here on the program. If Amazon.com is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can leave 5-star reviews for any or all of Crystel's brand new books, including 1 Flip, 2 Flip, 3 Flip, 4, I Am Different, Superheroes Here and There, and of course, the newest installment in the Inspired to Be series, Too Young to What? And technically, it's a question mark. So it's Too Young to What? Question mark.
Some people say too young to what? They read it.
If you are an educator, teacher, principal, librarian, if you want to be able to facilitate a virtual or in-person author school visit with Crystel, you can also connect with her via her official website to do that, whether you are facilitating those for the springtime or if you're facilitating those already for the 2023-2024 school year. Before we begin to wind down our time together, the relationship that you have with your illustrator, the fact that there is this synergy that is in place. Now, for those who are newer to the Children's Book Spotlight series, they may not necessarily know a lot of the ins and outs about the world of publishing is that if you are traditionally published, a lot of times you are, the publisher will bring the author and the illustrator together, so to speak. Whereas if you're self-published, you do have a little bit more creativity where you can work with one illustrator, and if you like that illustrator's work, you can create multiple books in the process. Could you share with us a little bit about the journey of what it's been like to be able to work with Brianna, because she's been with you since day one, and the fact that it really, one of the things that authors really hope for, whether they're self-published or published, is that themselves and their illustrator, that it's like two beating hearts beating as one, and that everyone is on the same page, so to speak. So what has she meant to you and to your work, and what has she lent to the work in terms of her creativity, her inspiration, her passion that has really helped to bring these beautiful books to form and shape?
Yeah, it's been a really incredible journey working with Brianna. When I was doing my research around traditional publishing versus self-publishing, I actually learned in traditional publishing, in many cases, as the author, I don't really have a say in what the illustrator does, right? And I just had such a strong point of view as to what I wanted these books to look like, that I wanted to be involved in the process. But with Brianna, I don't dictate, right? I tell her my vision, and she is really, really creative. It's like this really collaborative relationship where we build upon each other, right? Like, here's the vision, and she's like, oh, well, maybe it should be this, right? And we'll like go back and forth throughout the whole process until it's done. We have several checkpoints, right, as we're working on a project. And in the end, we really feel like it was both of our ideas, right? Like, and we feel proud of it at the end. So it's been really incredible working with her, because this is not a series that you follow one character from book to book. I thought it was really important that there was consistency in the illustration from book to book. And so her artistic voice is in all of the books, and with every book, it gets better and better. Like, and the other thing I really, really love about her illustration style is I feel like it really represents what I see Black people as in a drawing, right? A lot of times when I look at some illustrations, I feel like they're too flashy. Like, I'm like, real people don't look like that, with these big bubbly eyes that just sparkle, and like, I'm like, real people don't look like that. And I feel like her actual illustration style is more realistic, and my whole goal is for children to see themselves in these pictures, right? And feel like, okay, I can do that too if they're doing it. So it's been a beautiful collaborative experience, but she's also bringing an artistic point of view that is needed for what the stories that I'm trying to tell.
I can sense that through every single book, from one flip, two flip, three flip, four, all the way to your newest book, Too Young to What. I think this is something that definitely needs to be shared as we're beginning to wind down our time, is that there are children that and adults that are wondering, maybe they've gone through a lot in their life. Maybe they're simply just going through a challenging day, but sometimes people have had challenging childhoods or challenging lives, so to speak. What would be some words of encouragement and support that you would like to be able to share for children and adults that are out there who have a dream, they have a goal, they have a vision, but either they don't know where to start, or they don't even think that they can achieve their dream?
I mean, I feel like for this, even for me, I had to struggle with that, or I had to learn that about myself, that like you really truly can do anything that you set your mind to. I went to school for engineering. I'm a technology consultant. I wasn't thinking that I can be this author, right? But my son asked me that question, and that showed me that, okay, this is what needs to be done. And I found a way to do it, right? And so now I look back and I have 4 books and I'm like, man, I really can do anything that I set my mind to. Who would have thought 2-3 years ago that I would be an author with 4 books? I wouldn't have been able to tell you that 2-3 years ago. But now looking back, I'm like, I can actually do anything that I set my mind to. I believe that you have to have the right motivation though. Because I think there's many things that I thought I wanted to do in the past, but I never, took the steps to make it happen. But I think this time I had the right motivation, right? The right inspiration. And now I'm over here using that inspiration to inspire others. So I think it's just simple as the message in 2 of my books. You can do anything that you set your mind to, honestly.
We had talked about this in the PR from the Heart Green Room. In life, we learn every day, and life is a teacher, so to speak. And undoubtedly, your work as a children's author has taught you a lot. What has the creation of the writing, the publishing, the promoting, what has the Inspired to Be series and the characters in your books taught you about yourself and life?
What has that taught me about myself and life? I feel like it's taught me that I'm very resourceful. And I have this type of drive and commitment about myself, that when I set my mind to doing something and I see meaning in it, I know it has to be done. I will find a way to get it done. I've been like, there was a time where my husband would say, is this a business or is this a hobby? Because you keep putting a lot of money into this, right? I don't care, because I see the importance of this and why it needs to be done, right? And so I'm gonna do it. And so it showed me that I'm just very resilient, I guess. Like, no matter what I have to struggle with to get these books out there, I'm gonna do it. I'm all in at this point. Like, it's gonna get done.
I appreciate you sharing that, because those things are getting done, and there's definitely more that is to come. We encourage all of you who are enjoying episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, if you want to learn more about Crystel's story and so much more about what it is that she's sharing and communicating with children, parents, families, and educators, you can stay connected with PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel, and you can enjoy her featured television interviews with ABC 7 in Los Angeles and so many more that will be forthcoming as part of her book tour. The 2 ways that we close out each Children's Book Spotlight series, we like to start off by giving a little tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors. We've already mentioned him once or twice, so why not thrice? Mr. Rogers, whenever he did this in different ways, whether it be on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, whenever he spoke across the country at college commencement speeches, library talks, most notably when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the daytime Emmy shortly before he passed from stomach cancer. And he encouraged all of us to remember those who helped love us into being. And that was his way of saying, remember those people along our path who inspired us, who encouraged us to dream big, who were there on board as part of our support system when we needed, who encouraged us to not give up. So who would you like to publicly recognize on episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight series that helped love you, Crystel Patterson, into being?
Oh, my kids. Like, I feel like they're the reason why I set course down this path, right? They opened my eyes and showed me that like I can do something to make a difference. You know, Martin Luther King has a quote, life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others? They helped me find the answer to that question, right? Of what I'm doing for others. And in this journey that I'm on. So definitely my kids, they encourage me to dream big every day.
Thank you for taking the time to recognize your little ones as well, too. And you've given one of the ways we always close out our Children's Book Spotlight series episodes. It's with that, as well as we're big Disney buffs here at the Children's Book Spotlight series and PR from the Heart. We're reminded each and every day that we have the abilities to bring our dreams, desires, goals, visions to life. And we have the abilities to help others and inspire others to do that. And of course, so we go back to a wonderful year, 1992. It was the year of the Barcelona Olympics in Spain. Some great gymnastics back then. We go back to the Genie of the Lamp. We go back to the late Robin Williams. We remember all of that. We remember the Disney beloved classic Aladdin. And so we have a little segment here on the Children's Book Spotlight series to close out each program called 3 Wishes. So you, Crystel, you have given so freely from your heart to your family, to children, parents, families, educators across Sacramento, across California, across the country, nationwide and around the world. So you are being given 3 wishes. Now they can be for yourself, they can be for your family, they can be for the children of the world. I think the only automatic disqualifiers are you can't make someone fall in love with you and you can't ask for more wishes. Anything else besides that is fair game. So you are being given 3 wishes.
This is hard. You should give me a heads up so I could think about it.
Spontaneity is an amazing thing here at the Children's Book Spotlight series. So what would your 3 wishes be?
Well, my first wish would be around my whole goal in this whole book series, right? I really want all children to just always feel inspired that they can do anything that they set their mind to. And by following these examples of Black people, right? Hopefully that is their way of seeing that. So it's like 2 in 1 right there, just like spreading Black inspiration to all children. That is my wish. I hope my books actually do that. But not only my books, there's other authors who are doing similar things, have very similar mission. And I hope with all of these books that are hitting the shelves nowadays, right? I hope that that is something that comes to pass. Another wish is I really, this is like unrelated completely, but I wish that every human has shelter and a warm bed to sleep in at night, right? Food to eat every day. Like homelessness is something that just drives me crazy when I drive down the street and I'm like, why are human beings having to sleep on the sidewalk? So like if there was a solution to homelessness that like, hopefully the wish could grant that. And then my third wish, man, this is hard. Let me see. This is hard. So I said one about my book. I said one about the world. And I guess for me, I just want to like just continue to be able to find the creativity in myself, right? To keep making a difference.
Those are 3 beautiful wishes. Little Forrest, what do you think of Crystel's wishes? I think that he's very happy when he hears those wishes. Raise your hand if you have had fun. On episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, we see hands from myself, hands from Crystel, hands from the little ones on screen. And of course, the Inspired to Be series is being given 2 paws up from Little Forrest. So he has his paws up. That's the best endorsement of any children's book, is when you get 2 paws up from Little Forrest. Again, we encourage all of you, our listeners, viewers, friends, neighbors, fellow shining stars as well too. If you haven't had the opportunities to do so, to head on over to Crystel's official website, which is CrystelPatterson.com. You can stay connected with her post-children's book spotlight series, keep the conversation going and flowing. Post-children's book spotlight series. If Amazon.com is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can purchase your copies of the Inspired to Be series, which again, 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4, I Am Different, Superheroes Here and There, and Too Young to What. They are all now available. You can leave 5-star reviews for 1, 2, 3, or all 4 books if you feel guided to do so through Amazon. Again, that's one of the many ways you can pledge your support for Crystel, to let her know that she is making a difference, that she is doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books. And of course, all educators, not only in Sacramento, not only in Southern California, but nationwide. If you would want to be able to facilitate a virtual or in-person author school visit with Crystel as part of the forthcoming spring, or leading into the back-to-school season as part of your 2023-2024 school year, man, time is flying by. When I say 2023-2024 school year, you can stay connected with Crystel via her official website. Now, there are many more magical trolley stops to come, but for now, as we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. If this episode has inspired you, these messages that we have shared throughout the course of episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, all the heartfelt themes found inside the Inspired to Be series, if you're feeling inspired, uplifted, if your cup is now full, if you feel that this message needs to be shared with someone in need, a fellow parent or grandparent or educator, especially a little one who is striving to do big things in this life, we encourage you, if you haven't had the chance to do so, to subscribe to Pierre from the Heart's official YouTube channel, and to share this very special trolley stop that has been episode number 169 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. But again, there are many more magical trolley stops to come. So if you are a children's or middle grade author and would like to share your inspiring story in the release of your new book on a forthcoming edition of the Children's Book Spotlight series in 2023, you can connect with us via our official website, prfromtheheart.com, or any of our social media platforms that you now see on screen. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at PR from the Heart. If you are interested in facilitating a featured television interview or a book media tour in a city or city of your choosing, you can schedule your own courtesy connection call and let us see how we can be of service to you as well. But we are super excited because one of our favorite friends and neighbors, we are going to be celebrating the 2-year anniversary of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast with David Newell and myself. You may remember David Newell as the beloved Mr. McFeely on the long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So as part of the February edition of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast, David and I will be diving into the pages of Too Young to What. So make a note, stay connected for this special 2-year anniversary edition of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast. And of course, David and I will be connecting in person, in studio once again as part of the April and May editions of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast with our friends and neighbors at the Center for Media Innovation in downtown Pittsburgh on the gorgeous campus of Point Park University. So stay connected with those 2 Children's Book Spotlight series, or with those 2 Neighborly Reviews bookcast episodes, I should say, in the months of April and May. One final time, head on over to Crystel Patterson's official website, CrystelPatterson.com. Amazon.com is also, if that is your favorite online vehicle of your choosing, you can purchase your copies of 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, 4, I Am Different, Superheroes Here and There, and the newest installment in the Inspired to Be series, Too Young to What. This has been a wonderful trolley stop, so we want to thank all of you for spending some quality time with us here in our neighborhood. We want to thank you for your continued support of PR from the Heart, for your continued support of the Children's Book Spotlight series, for your continued support of children's authors and illustrators like Crystel, who are doing, again, wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books, for your continued support of children's library, or for your continued support of children's bookstores and independent bookstores and local libraries, truly the pillars of our community. And above all else, we want to thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. Lastly, one last tip of the cap to our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers. In his own private numerology, he had 3 numbers that he shared so beautifully quite regularly. Those numbers were 1, 4, 3. Somehow Mr. Rogers also weighed 143 pounds for his entire natural adult life. That was his way of communicating, I love you. There's one letter in I, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. As Crystel was very kind to lend us some of her free time this week, as a little tip of the cap to Mr. Rogers, we remind you that you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. Because 2, 4, 3, there are 2 letters in we, 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. We are reminding you of your inherent worth and your inherent value, and that you are loved and that you are special just the way that you are. That Crystel, myself, and Little Forest, that we like you and we love you just the way that you are. So again, for Crystel Patterson, for Little Forest, and for myself, John Massalonis, we want to thank you for spending some quality time with us here in our neighborhood at the Children's Book Spotlight Series, and we look forward to spending more quality time with all of you once again very soon with more magical trolley stops that are ahead on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. So again, thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Goodbye for now. What do we buy, Little Forest? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.